Hey friends, today we're diving into the massive ARRTX acrylic paint set of 90 because apparently I can't resist rainbow in a box. Now, full disclosure, I'm currently battling a cold at the minute, so instead of my usual on-camera FaceTime, you're going to get my slightly congested, cozy goblin narrator vibes. Think of this as Bob Ross, but with a box of tissues and questionable vitamin C decisions. We're going to swatch, test and see if this set is actually worth the hype or if it's just a pretty packaging with a personality crisis. So grab a cuppa, get comfy, and let's get messy in the best kind of way. Okay, so let's dive into what the ARRTX 90 colors acrylic marker set is all about. Now I have the box obviously here in front of me. So we are water-based and brush tip, bright and opaque, and it is available to use on different surfaces, which is awesome. She's a big one. So let's look at the colours first before I open the lid. So on the back here, we've got a list of our 90 colours, and just by looking at it already, I can see we've got some really nice blues, greens and purples, which I'm very excited about. You guys know that I love like blue, greens and purples. I'll just make sure that you can see that properly. There we go. And we can see, yeah, we've got like as a picture of the marker on there and all of that. So I absolutely love their packaging. I always have. So when we open it up, you just lift it off. And they're all hanging out like a bunch of seaweed in their own little nooks. Now, I don't know if you can see, there's like, yeah, there's these little dividers and they just sit in there like that. They won't fall out, but they do move around a little bit. But how fun. And what comes with the top of them? So we've got the stickers. So rather than, and a little ARRTX little business card, it tells you more about them. So rather than every color having a number printed on it already, they've given us these stickers, and it was the same for, if you watched my review for the sim tap markers, it was the same scenario. So every barrel is the same and you just got to put the sticker on them. So I'm looking at this thinking, got to get the order right, but if you turn it around, if you're worried about how do you know which color to stick them onto, if you start with your white in the top corner, and then we know that white is 00, and you can just work your way through and match them. And I wouldn't take them out and swatch them or play with them until you've done all the stickers. Oh, so that'd be fun. I'm looking forward to doing that. I might not say the same. I might not say the same for these stickers after I've done all 90 of them, but we'll see. So to give you a closer look at, so here we have the barrel there and just a nice brush tip. So these are exactly like, these are acrylic markers without the activation and the mess, which is what I really like because I'm a messy person. I tend to get junk everywhere, paint everywhere, and this is a nice golden color, so it'll come out quite nice, hopefully. I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, just a nice brush tip, so I'm looking forward to doing those. And I think ARRTX's one of their signature styles is having all of their products floating around in the box here, just hanging out like seaweed, I think. So once we've put all the stickers on, we could transfer them to a marker storage shelf if you like. However, I might keep them in the boxes because I like the packaging so much. So I'm gonna go ahead and chuck all these stickers on while they're currently in order so I don't lose my place. And then we're gonna have a look at the swatch chart. Okay, guys, we have a lot of markers here. 90 really is a large set. I kind of didn't think about it that much until I've got them all lying out in front of me. Now, the stickers are really sticky. So now that I'm thinking about it, I should have potentially actually done the sticker upwards. I wrapped it around because there was no obvious spot as to where it was to go, because like this circle, and that's fairly obvious, it goes on the bottom. I just wrapped it around, but I should have done it on the top. But anyway, it's really sticky, so I'm not going to be worried about those falling off, which was good. And I think, yeah, it's a good idea to get your stickers sorted before you swatch them all, just in case you get them out of order, because there is no other color reference other than what's on the box. Now, you may notice that some of these have, say, letters before the number. I've done a quick check. So the letters accompanying the numbers on the acrylic markers, they represent the specific series or set as to which each marker belongs. These codes help identify the color groupings and are useful for organization and collecting and referencing specific colors. According to my little notes here, so we've got a few codes. So we've got the A can represent the regular color set, B can represent like an anime color set, E is a specific 48 color set, a D 36, and letters for the different series that you can get. So because the 90 set is so big, we've got everything kind of collected together. And if you're looking for a comprehensive view of all the available sets and their corresponding color charts, you can visit the ARRTX color chart page. I will link ARRTX's website down in the description. Now we do, out of all these 90, we do have 2 metallic colors, this being a silver and a gold, which I'm very excited about with the gold. I actually think I already have this particular gold already. I'll have a look. ARRTX do sell a metallic set if you're interested in that, but otherwise they do come with a gold and a silver in this 90 set, which is pretty cool. Right, I'm going to get these all out of the way. Let's swatch them. Okay, so while I'm going crazy with some swatching, and may I just say, look at those beautiful markers all sitting in their little huts there. So I will mention too, see how these markers are all standing up? They are sitting in their little plastic little thingies, and those actually come out. So they break up into 3 different sections, which is really handy if you have a bulk amount of markers that you're working with and you want to keep them upright, say if you're working with them over a few days, etc. So I love that these come out and they're not stuck in the box. However, I would kind of like if there was some little bit on the lid or the box that you could actually stand it up on a bit of an angle. In that shot there, I actually just have it up on a little block, on like a little phone mount, if you will. So just so it's nice and angled. But look, I'm talking the 1%ers here. Okay, so just a little bit about ARRTX. So ARRTX is a Chinese art supply brand that's really been gaining popularity in the last few years. They're known for making budget-friendly but high-performing products, especially for beginners and hobbyists who still want quality, and I personally will vouch for the quality. You might have heard of their gel pens or alcohol markers, or even their pencils or their pastel sticks, but these acrylic markers are very underrated, and this 90 color set is massive. The first impression that I get with these markers is that they are vibrant, juicy, and there's a really nice variety of colors. I feel like I'm going to be able to get some really nice gradients within my color combinations. So we've got some classic primaries, we've definitely got some skin tones, some pastels, and a few deep moody tones that I'm absolutely in love with. The barrel feels sturdy, the caps are color coded, and you can actually get some of the markers in dual tips. So on one end you'll have a fine bullet nib for detailed work, and then a chisel nib for larger fills or bold lines. And let me just say, they go down so smooth. I'm really loving the fact that I don't have to press hard and the flow is super consistent. So again, this is one thing that I really like about these markers, is that I don't have to worry about activating them or shaking them or tapping the little button at the top. It's something that I've always got in the back of my mind, and I can sometimes get a bit worried. Am I doing it right? Do I need to add more? Am I adding too much? I like these because they're fuss-free. In my opinion, how do they compare to something like Posca, for example? Posca has a slightly more matte finish and a slightly thicker texture when it's dry, but with ARRTX, they come in at a fraction of the price, and the performance is honestly very impressive for that budget range, to be honest. So you're looking at just over $1 per marker, where if we're talking about the Poscas, we're nearly looking at $5 Australian per marker. So there's no way that you could purchase a set of 90 Poscas for around $100, $120. There's just no way. So honestly, if you're not planning on selling like gallery pieces or like huge outdoor murals or something like that, but you want something fun, versatile, and vibrant for crafts, coloring books, journals, rocks, plant pots, glass, whatever, these totally hold their own. So my honest take after using them for a few hours, which I will go into a bit further, but they have a great color range. Like 90 is no joke. You think, oh yeah, 90, blah, 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 but it is actually so good. Again, I can achieve some really nice color gradients here. I love that I've got more than one yellow to choose from. I love that I've got more than one brown to choose from, etc., etc. And even different types of browns and different types of pinks. I love that we've got bluey pinks and reddy pinks. I love that there's just different shades in them. And again, smooth ink flow, and they are incredibly affordable. And again, they do come in dual tips in some of their different ranges if that's what you're looking for. And they dry fast with little smudging. And because they're acrylic, I can apply other mediums over the top. And so, for example, I can apply something like pan pastel over the top. And then if I need to wipe it off, you can with just like a little makeup pad or something like that. So cons, okay, so they're not refillable. Depending on how much you use them, you might need to replace them quite a bit. They're not labeled as light fast, unfortunately, so maybe not ideal for sunlit display pieces. But again, feel free to test that out yourself. Or if you're looking to preserve some of the color, you can apply a light fixative layer, which is what I do with all of my coloring pages anyway. The caps don't always match the ink perfectly, so that's why I do recommend swatching them, which I do with all of my supplies anyway. But I feel like that's going to happen with every marker or pencil anyway. Like, it's never going to be perfect, so I certainly don't hold this as like an exclusively ARRTX con. I think it's just the way it is across all mediums. So would I recommend these? Yeah, totally. Especially if you're like me and love experimenting with texture and color without worrying about ruining your expensive supplies. These are the kind of tools that invite play, and sometimes that's exactly where creativity thrives. And the other amazing thing about these two is they don't bleed through the paper. So you can go to absolute town in your coloring books and they'll be fine. I'm not saying add like 50 layers. I'm saying like you can add 2 or 3 and it's not going to bleed through. It's wonderful. So yeah, I absolutely love these. And again, sometimes it's just good to play around with different mediums and to have some bright, bold stuff that isn't necessarily an alcohol marker or pencils or anything like that. It's just fun. Okay, so looking at our beautiful colors here, I've noticed that when I was swatching them out, they're not all completely in color wheel order. I've done them mainly by number. So I've got a few oranges over here that probably belong over here. It's doing my head in a little bit. Maybe I will go ahead and do it on color order on the other side. I feel like some of the areas are good, but it's just not completely right, especially down here. But look, that is fine. Guys, these colors have come out absolutely beautiful and I'm really impressed with how thick they are on the paper. They're beautiful. And I don't know if you can see 91 and 92. That is the most beautifully thick silver I've ever seen. And that gold is beautiful and pale. They're so iridescent. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Oh, I am stuck with what color palette I want to go with because there are so many nice things here. Like, look at all these beautiful muted greens that we have there, the bright greens, but these beautiful muted greens and the turquoises as well. You could almost use these markers in something like Milli Marotta. You could grab all your teals and your greens and you could go through and color in all the little bits. That would look really nice. I really enjoyed swatching these out. And I like that there's just numbers, that there's no names. I mean, look, most of the time I like that there's names. However, I think when I was swatching out 90, it was really nice just to be like number, number, number. And 2, let me show you the bleed through. Not much at all, or nothing. All there really is just a bit of warping from where that it's been wet. But this paper is so thin. This is just my notebook grid paper. So it's really thin. The fact that it doesn't even bleed through on this, I just have a plastic sheet behind it just in case. So I've just got some basic copy paper. And I just wanted to show you, so let's have a look at some lines. So, because we're brush tip, you can do like pretty thick ones if you wanted to. And it just goes down so evenly. Do some, just changing your tip, and just you can do some finer ones if you want. And you can get thicker. I mean, I don't have a super steady hand, but you could even go as fine as that, depending on how good you are. So those are the different types of effects we can get. Now I want to actually start testing these in a coloring book. Let me get the page that I've been thinking of. So I have decided to complete this double page spread out of Johanna Basford's Secret Garden. Yes, we are going back almost a whole decade. This particular book, this edition has white paper. So this is an edition that I picked up from Kmart. There's no jacket on it. It's just, yeah, it's just straight cardboard like a new one. So this is the page we're going to be working on. I do need to decide on the color palette, and I think what I'm going to do with these beautiful golds and silvers is outline the flowers, because see how a lot of the flowers here have a thick outline to work with? I think I'm going to go with that. And I think I would like to go a really textured pan pastel background that fits within the color palette, and then we're going to do some work with these bees as well. So I want to do that. That will be fun. One other thing that I will just note with these, most of them went out very smoothly, like I said. However, there was just one. There was number 43, which just seemed completely dry, and I tried to give it a shake and a bit of a whack to bring out that color. So I'm hoping that in time that will work, but the rest were pretty good. So I suppose that's the only downside that you have when you don't when you can't activate it, is the fact that you can't activate it and you can't control bringing any more ink through. Now, in terms of the other way, I only had one out of the 90 that was like super heavy on the paint, which was pretty good. So I felt like these were super easy to work with. I'm really impressed, and I can't wait to put these in a coloring book. So let me show you. Alrighty guys, that wraps up my talky, chatty part of the ARRTX review. Now it's just time for me to color. If you feel like hanging around, I'll be doing my thing here for a bit. No more talking, just some chill music and some good old fashioned colouring. Feel free to grab your own page that you're working on at the minute, any whip that you have, and colour along next to me. Why not? We can hang out. And if you wanted to check out these markers for yourself, I'll pop all the details in the description below. That's it from me, and enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video.